Welcome to Moving Forward for Life with Rosita. Discover your way home. You know, one thing that is constant in life is there will always be change. And changes could be buying or selling a home, the loss of a loved one, marriage, divorce, it goes on. But when you find yourself on a new path, whether planned or unexpected, what you know is home is shaken or shattered. So this is clear. How you process a change will impact the trajectory of your life. Moving Forward for Life with Rosita starts now. Hey everyone, and welcome to Moving Forward for Life with Rosita. Discover your way home. We were in the background jamming because the music
I was jamming to your
making
tunes.
you move. Happy Friday. I am Rosita, your Discovery Coach and Realtor. My shows focus on life coaching and real estate topics, all with the goal to help you move forward. And today our topic is a little bit of a hot one. It is ways to succeed during the real estate market shift. And my guest today is a longtime colleague, Christina Smith. She is a realtor as well. She's a lifelong resident of San Diego. She's been in the industry longer than the age that she looks. She's been in real estate for about 20 years.
Yeah, over 20.
And her expertise is aligning her clients' desired lifestyles and their home needs. Welcome, Christina. So
Hi,
glad
Rosita.
you're here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You want to share a little bit more about yourself?
Gosh, I mean, where to start? Like you said, been in the real estate business over 20 years. You knew me way back when I was just helping in the office doing marketing. And I'm a wife, I'm a mom. We are a blended family with 5 kids.
Woo!
So very familiar with big life changes and transitioning and moving in different directions. And I love to help families, and I'm big on thinking outside the box. So I think you know that as well.
Yeah, that's why we mesh so well together.
Yeah, we do.
I was in a blended family, and we both have been through a divorce, so we know the ebbs and flows of that whole situation. And then you add the market shift.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Dealing with the emotions and the different dynamics. And, you know, in San Diego, the market can shift like that. And I think as realtors, we're used to going, okay, there's been a market shift and switching directions, but it's very difficult for our clients to understand those shifts. They often are confused and upset. So definitely something I've been dealing with recently.
Yeah, I think we all been dealing with that. So let's go back to late 2021, right? We had heard that the mortgage interest rates were going to change. They were going to increase sometime in 2022. And it would move from the 3%-ish that it had been for the past 2 years to possibly 4%. But today it's hovering over 5.25%. And that is dependent on, of course, your debt to income, your FICO score, your income. I mean, it has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
So I think the increase in the interest rates, they inherently cause this shift that we've been experiencing.
Yes, it affects people's, obviously, their mortgage payment drastically. And what I've explained to clients is that now all of the buyers that we had in this price point now have to rethink their budget, rethink their price point, and potentially move to other neighborhoods that are cheaper. And so you see this shift, and then ultimately when the buyer pool is gone and the homes are sitting on the market, the only way to be competitive is sometimes to reduce the price.
Yes, and reduce is such a harmful word, so we say adjust it.
Adjust it, right. Exactly, which has been difficult for my clients because just a few months ago, we were looking at multiple offers, well over asking, and I'm just not experiencing that right now.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the difference of how it had been the past 2 years for sellers and buyers, and what is happening right now during this shift.
I mean, from my experience, it was difficult for me to even get my regular buyers under contract unless they were a 20% down buyer and had excess funds to come over asking and waive appraisals and waive inspections, which was not something I was willing to recommend to my clients.
Right.
I just had to tell them we just need to wait it out. We need to do our best. And that's really what we did. Now, just to give you an example of the difference, I had listed a home in February at $875. We accepted an offer at $868. It was a beautiful home. And we had great buyers who were willing to wait for us to buy another property, which I anticipated would be difficult since we were in a multiple offer situation just in February.
Yeah.
And then we had interest rates change.
Mm.
And our buyers backed out, and we just went under contract with a new buyer at $830.
Wow.
That's a huge adjustment in price. And luckily, we made small adjustments down. And one of the things that I did was I kept in touch with the other agents in the neighborhood.
Important.
To see what their buyers, their experience was, how many buyers were coming through, if they had any offers. They were also experiencing that shift. And so now I've experienced a full kind of circle, and now we are no longer, it feels like, in a seller's market. We are straight into a buyer's market, where I also was able to get them under contract on a new home about $30,000 less than what the homes were selling. And I also got them an $11,000 credit towards their closing costs.
Great job.
Would have been unheard of back in February. Sellers just didn't need to give credits towards closing costs.
Right. So what I experienced in the past 2 years is, because I had buyers that were putting in offers, but they were bid out by other buyers giving the offer of anywhere between $80,000 to $100,000 more than the list price, more than it even appraised for. So I too was not comfortable with saying, okay, get rid of all your contingencies of appraisal, inspections, and loan, because those are the things that protect the buyer.
Yes.
So, but they finally got into a home. On the seller side, though, man, they could ask for anything, right?
I know they could. And now we still have sellers who are in the mindset that they think they can still ask for anything. And it's just not the case right now. We're back to a buyer's market.
Yeah, because with the interest rate increasing, then that really takes down the buyer pool.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
And there's a balance of values for homes, because now values need to adjust to accommodate where the buyers are. So I like this market, though. It's a great opportunity for agents to show their negotiating skills, to really reach out to those listing agents, talk to them about, what does the seller need? What are terms that will be acceptable? Will they offer a credit? Things like that. So the opportunity for buyers who are doing lower down payment loans to get credit to help for closing costs is now there.
Yeah. I had a listing. We listed right when the market interest rate started to shift. And so, the important thing for agents is to inform their sellers and let them know what's going on. Yeah. There's a shift in the market. Their interest rates have increased. Buyers, there's not as many buyers coming out. And I had 2 open houses, and the activity was like, 3 groups of people, 6 groups of people. Yeah. And I'm like, what's going on? Well, market shift really affected that. And there were other properties for sale in that same complex. So I spoke to the other agents just like you and found out crickets for them as well. They're not getting any calls. They weren't getting any offers, nothing. And so I thought, okay, so this is just what's going on with the shift.
Yes.
It's not necessarily, because sometimes the clients feel like, well, you're not doing enough. Oh, I'm working so much more this time.
Yeah, you actually do. I think that as long as the homeowner says, okay, what is my agent doing? Are they marketing? Are they doing open houses? Are they really putting the property out there on social media?
Right.
You know, agents, we do our best to market a home, but at the end of the day, the buyer pool really does dictate the value of the home. If there's no buyers buying in that neighborhood, then your home is just going to sit on the market unless you adjust the price.
And also buyers are kind of like, I'm going to take my time now. So they're sitting it out. They're
No
like,
rush.
we'll see. I don't know, maybe. And I'm just like, oh my God, no.
Well, interest rates will keep going up. And
Right.
then, you know, of course, there's talk about, interest rates going down towards the end of the year. But the great news about that is if you do get yourself into a home that you really love, and we always say purchase for the long term because we never know
Right.
what the market's going to do. You
Yeah.
can always, do a refinance and adjust that interest rate down. But if the interest rates continue to go up and you wait, then you're going to be stuck.
Right. I had buyers that were qualified for 650 and they were looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo. It shouldn't have been so hard. But now, since it increased, they're like at 500.
Yeah.
What you can't, not in San Diego.
No, and you just have to wait and see if the market will adjust those values down enough where you can inch in, or you have to look in other areas. You have to look in surrounding areas that maybe you really didn't want to go.
Right. So it depends on what the buyer wants. Do they want what they want in terms of a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but it's not in their neighborhood, but it's beautiful? They'll have to make that adjustment for the drive. Or do they want what they want, but they'll lose a bedroom? They may lose a bathroom.
Yeah.
It just depends. You got to be careful whether you want to, that's a huge adjustment. And as realtors, we have the opportunity to be able to educate them and let them know what's going on. Here's the market stats. Here's what's going on. Here's what they'll be able to offer, and be able to talk to the listing agent and negotiate and make the best for both parties.
Yes, absolutely.
So what can buyers and sellers do in this market to succeed?
Well, I think adjusting expectations, being flexible, being able to recognize that, if this is not the long-term home, that maybe you can be flexible on location if it's getting you into a home within your budget. Budget is extremely important. Not extending that because life happens and you do not want to be house poor and you do not want to be financially struggling. I've had people get really excited at a home that has all the bells and whistles and then try to push it up. And then I just have to constantly be that reminder. As good realtors are, we are the reminder that, hey, you were firm on this budget and this is where you felt comfortable. So right. That I think I would say having a realtor who is a great communicator that's going to be communicating with that listing agent on the terms and looking for red flags, kind of pre-negotiating. If you go into a home and you like the home, I always recommend that we just take a deeper look. Do we see leaks, open cupboards, check around, right. Look for signs of rodents,
cracks,
cockroaches, things that might need to be pre-negotiated that your realtor can actually ask the listing agent about. Signs for leaks in the ceilings, things like that. All right. Of that can be pre-negotiated. And I'd say if you're selling and buying, I think the biggest thing is really utilizing and trusting your real estate agent. If you know that they're working on your behalf, let them work on your behalf. Stop comparing your property to your brother-in-law's that sold in a completely different zip code, in a completely different neighborhood. Understanding that, especially in San Diego, not only are zip codes each separate independent markets,
That's
but
right.
neighborhoods in those zip codes are completely separate independent markets. And you cannot compare one to the other. And appraisers don't. So
Right. Yeah.
appraisers will only go 1 mile out on an appraisal. So I think understanding that expectation, stop trying to compare your home to your dad's who had 50 offers that was located in, Forest Ranch, to your condo in Escondido. They're just not comparable. It's not the same market. So those would be some of my tips.
Okay. So for sellers, understanding is the key.
Yes.
Understanding
and respecting your realtor's advice, really listening to them. You're hiring us for a reason. And the reason you're hiring us is our expertise on the market, the ability to read what the market is doing and help you adjust what you're doing or how you're pricing your home to match what the market is doing.
Right. But also the buyers are no longer making those ridiculous bids. There is not a bidding war in most zip codes.
Yeah, you'll be lucky to get list price.
Yeah.
You'll be lucky if you've priced it right, you'll be lucky to get the list price of the home.
Right. But they're not, it's not like 2 years ago where they're like, I don't care, I'll pay over appraisal, I'll give you whatever you want. Those days
gone.
Broke
Maybe
out.
for another 10 years, maybe they'll be back. Who knows?
Yeah. And I think that knowing that and understanding that what your neighborhood, because sometimes you can have several for sale in the same neighborhood.
Yes.
But, and then it's like, well, they got $100,000 over asking. Well, that's true. But they were completely upgraded, maybe. Maybe they got a cash offer.
Right.
With no contingencies. I mean, we just don't know the background, and the listing agent will not disclose that information.
Often not. And unless, you call them, it's after closing, sometimes they'll give you a little insight, like what were the circumstances. I had one in the neighborhood, it was still pending, and I asked him, what's it going to close at? Because it's been on the market for like 3 months.
Wow.
And he said the owners got COVID. Then they were the family was in a really bad car accident.
Oh.
And they needed time to heal, but the buyer stuck with the purchase. So he was going to be closing at a significantly higher price simply because that was the same buyer from the market 3 months ago. So They were very lucky to have a buyer who was willing to stick with this purchase long term, because if it had been put on the market today, they would have been looking at a significant adjustment in their price.
Absolutely.
But the nice thing about this is that it's much easier now for sellers to sell and buy. It's much more realistic, whereas that was a total panic before. You could sell your home, but you'd probably have to move in with family. You'd be taking most of your equity and having to on the
rent,
either rent or apply it just to get your offer accepted. And then there goes all of your equity. So it's so much easier now in this market as it was 3 years ago. It was standard practice. You sell
pre-pandemic.
Pre-pandemic.
And I think that it will, there's some talk about the prices will still increase, but I think it's going to be more of an adjustment.
Yes.
Where it's going to be kind of level for a short while, maybe.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the seller's market anymore. It is shifting into a buyer's, but who knows? I mean, like you say, real estate changes on the drop of a dime.
It's crazy. The whole whole thing is crazy. It's definitely a full-time job as realtors to keep tracking it.
Yeah, and I talked to other colleagues, other realtors, and we did not expect this shift so quickly.
No.
I thought it was going to be later in the year, maybe. I didn't expect the 5%.
Mhm.
And it took all of us by surprise as well. So,
Mhm.
I mean, it's not, sometimes I think there's a misconception that we're just trying to get more, we're just trying to make you sell so we can get a commission. No, because the market has shifted. And if you're working with the realtor who is honest and has integrity and wants your best interest, has it in heart, then that's the important part,
Yeah.
is to be
And
able to have that relationship.
a good loan officer as well. Luckily my loan officer was able to do, it was like a pre-lock before he was under
Ah,
contract. And
okay.
so we locked him in at 4.1% for 90 days, and it expires June 24th, and he's closing on his house June 22nd.
Oh my gosh,
He's
that's
getting
a great idea.
4.1. So that was another thing that I didn't know that we could even do until my loan officer told me that she could, Ashley. So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So that's a good segue into what the buyers can do to maneuver through this market. So of course, have your ducks in order, right? Have
Yeah.
your pre-approval, have your, proof of funds, that you have the down payment and closing costs. Know what you're looking for,
Yes.
right? And if you want to, shift a little bit because it's the neighborhood you want to be in, then know that as well. But
Yes.
you've got to be ready, because even though there's not a bidding war, there's still buyers out there that they see it, they put an offer on it right away, and then you've lost out.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's also super important to know what your purchase power number is.
Yeah.
If it's only 600,000, then stay at, 550 to
Range.
600, right? Because
Yes.
it's like going to find that perfect black dress when we're going to an event, right?
Mhm.
And you love the one in Nordstrom's, of
Mhm.
course, but your budget is saying, better go to Marshall's.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I would do is I would look for listings just on my own for clients that had been on the market for a while that were priced a little bit higher. I never go more than maybe 5 to 10,000 higher, because there's a buffer, I think a psychological buffer of what sellers are willing to do. And
Right.
if they've been on the market, there's always listings where the agents agreed to list a property knowing full well that it was priced too high. And eventually they're going to have to talk their clients into some sort of adjustment. And if you can go to the offer table and write a letter, for about your buyer, and pitch it to the homeowner, sometimes they will adjust and they'll come down.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the legwork that we do that
Yeah.
sometimes our clients don't know. There's a lot of background work. There's
Oh, yes.
researching, there's talking to the other agents, there's viewing the property, there's talking with the lender. There's so much that goes behind the scenes of helping our clients get what they need. I think that's
Absolutely.
really important. So the last thing that I think is, I think I already mentioned this, if a buyer sees a house that they like, put in your highest and best
Yeah.
ASAP. Don't be messing around.
Yeah, no, I always ask them, I say, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you rate this home? 10 being the best, this is the one. If it's between 8 and 10, we should put in an offer. You're not always going to get everything that checks every single box, but it should check the most important boxes.
Yes. And so sometimes buyers their cap might be like, say, 800,000, but the house they like is 820. So I always suggest to them, okay, well, does your 401k allow you to borrow from yourself? Because
Yes.
you can take out that money, get into the house before the interest rate increases even
Yes.
more, and then
Mhm.
pay yourself back,
Yes.
right? So that's an option, that they have to think about. But the bigger thing is, as the interest rate increases, that property gets smaller and smaller in terms of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. So
Yes.
that's really important to know. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Oh, wait, hold on. I just realized that we got 3 minutes.
This is what happens. We start talking. That's okay. So I can be quick. What do I think is going to happen with the market?
Yeah, like, should buyers wait? Should sellers
No, I think you
list?
act. You always act. You buy, you prepare for the long term, you get into a home, you start building your equity, you establish roots in some place and make it your own. Just even statistically and psychologically, owning your home is better than renting, and because it's your space. I always recommend buying.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Christina. So our time is up, and I just want to thank you. This has been very informative. I hope it's informative to those that are listening. So why don't you share your contact information and talk about your podcast and Facebook page that you have?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
hilarious.
So my phone number is 858-334-9422. I have a podcast called Real Estate is Crazy, where we interview people with crazy stories in real estate. You will not believe some of our experiences. And, I have, it's Funny Realtor Crazy Mom on Instagram and Facebook for the goofy videos that I do when I view homes.
Okay, everyone. Remember, choosing the trajectory of your life is within your reach. You have a choice. So get the information, get educated, and make a move forward. And remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rosita Sells Homes, to watch this again or pass it on to somebody that might need it. Until next time, thank you so much. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, Rosita.
Talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to Moving Forward for Life with Rosita. Discover your way home. Through my own personal healing journey, I've come out stronger and braver. I know firsthand how hard, how lonely, and heartbreaking it is to continually live in pain. As we work together, you will discover the good, the bad, and the not so pretty parts of yourself so you can uncover the fabulous in you. Discover what you need to come home, whether that's a physical home or the home in you. Join me every second and fourth Friday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific.